Okay, and I am going to,
Our condolences, Madam President.
thank you. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. Have three, um, I have three funerals to attend. My aunt, my uncle, and my purse from Lincoln. Okay. Um, all right, well, welcome. Welcome, AALU members. All of you who are here in the Zoom are council members, but I guess we have two new council members, and this is really targeted not just to the new council members, but to all of the council members. It's always good to kind of take a minute, reflect on who we are and where we're trying to go, as well as anyone who is interested in the AALU. I am recording this and I will put it on our YouTube. So, okay. So those of you who have heard me speak lately may hear me talk about people, power, and participation. Originally, when I ran for this role a couple of years ago, I didn't think about it like this, but somehow over time, it's just basically almost everything that I have done has been framed around people, power, and participation. So I decided to frame this talk around that as well. Um, Sorry, I'm getting my notes up on my phone. I forgot to pull them up. Okay. All right. So first we'll talk about people, and that will be most of this presentation. So in terms of people, who are we? Who are we anyway? Who is the AALU anyway? Well, for one thing, I think it's always great to start with our mission. I know this slide is busy, but I won't read everything on it. But this is the mission of the AALU. If you look in our certificate of incorporation, which was filed in Pennsylvania decades ago, it's pretty much the same mission as it is now. So this is the mission. We reaffirmed this when we had strategic planning a couple of years ago. We are overdue for more strategic planning, but that's one of the challenges, and hopefully we'll be able to get that done. But this is the mission of who we are. In terms of our goals, when we had that strategic planning session a couple of years ago, many of you, but not all of you, were part of that. We really kind of culled down to four what I would call kind of priority goals. We had some goals around membership. We had goals around communication and outreach, programs goals, and then we had philanthropy and fundraising goals. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. The other thing in terms of who we are, I wanted to point out is that the AALU is the only recognized association of alumni of Lincoln University. We are a legally recognized entity, and we are the only legalized recognized entity through which the university will seat alumni trustees on its board of trustees. So this is recognized both in the LU bylaws as well as in the AALU bylaws. You'll see later when I'm going to lay out what some of our management challenges are. I do believe that the link between the university and the AALU needs to be strengthened. We need to have an MOU, which doesn't exist, a memorandum of understanding, outlining a little bit more what our link is and what our expectations are of one another. That being said, we do have this legal link. It just is long overdue to be filled out a little bit more. Okay, still on people. Who are we? Okay, Well, we have an executive committee. These faces are the faces of the AALU members who are on the executive committee, and I very much thank them for their service. We have I already mentioned Christopher Hill is our new treasurer. So he is new to the executive committee this year. Rita McCaskill is our new finance chair. She is not new to the executive committee because she was our treasurer previously. And then we have Sandra Marina Harmon, who is new to the executive committee as our programs chair. Outgoing, we had our previous programs chair, which was Dawn Easter McCoy, and we also had Tawana Frank, who was our most recent acting finance chair, but she's also our financial secretary. And speaking of Tawana as our financial secretary, we have these meetings once a month, okay? That the executive committee of the AALU meets once a month. Typically, it's the last Monday night the last Monday night of the month. Tawana and several others who aren't officially on the executive committee do attend these meetings. The parliamentarians attend. Our parliamentarians are Charles Latta and Robin Hall Hutchinson. We have Drew Sproul attend because, as you'll see, on the executive committee, there's no chapter president or representative representation. And so we have Drew attending. He's kind of serving as a coordinator, if you will, of our chapter presidents. And also for the executive committee, we invite any lion with any business before the AALU. So we often have Bonnie Bowser attend. She is the chair of our nominations and elections committee. Audrey Fields stops by sometimes, and Donita stopped by recently. So anyone with any business that maybe can't wait until the council meeting, because the executive committee is empowered to act on behalf of the AALU. We are the executive committee of we're the executive committee of the AALU. I just got a text from Happy. If someone could send her this link, maybe Camille, if you could do it, if you have her number. She's asking me to send it, but I can't. I'm not that good anymore multitasking like that.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so I mentioned the Alumni Council. So I've already talked about the executive committee. The Alumni Council is, think the board of the AALU. So the AALU is a nonprofit corporation. You saw that in our mission statement. We're 501c3. We are incorporated in Pennsylvania. We have a board, but our board, our governing body, has always been called the Alumni Council. So when we talk about the Alumni Council, it's really important that everyone remember we are talking about the body that is responsible for the overall alumni association. So it's so just think about the board of any corporation or the board of a nonprofit. We have the authority to execute the policies and the procedures of the association. It's just that the alumni council, smaller and more nimble. I mean, the executive committee is smaller and more nimble, and we do that on behalf of the board on a monthly basis. But the alumni council is actually the board. And the other thing I'm gonna just go back really quick, I'm sorry. I wanted to say one more thing about the executive committee. The executive committee, this is a new model. Previously, before my administration, we had only 3 people on the executive committee. We had the president, the vice president, and the treasurer. So as you can imagine, even if things are going well, it creates a very insular organization to have only 3 people running the day-to-day operations of an organization that is ostensibly representing thousands of alumni. So we have expanded that quite a bit because we now have officially all of these faces that you now see on the executive committee. And then in addition, we have these others who I discussed always attending our executive committee meetings, and we do open them up and bring Lions with Business before the executive committee. So back to the Alumni Council. I am sorry if this is not perfect. I tried really hard, but this little chart took a long time to create. It's a bit busy, so hopefully in the future I'll be able to get Happy, maybe you can help me clean this up. But we have the officers, which I've represented here at the top, the president, vice president, and treasurer, as well as the recording secretary. Oops. Oh no, I stopped my screen share by mistake. So sorry about that. Try this. Okay. And then we have the financial secretary. I have everyone in blue attends is on the executive committee. The financial secretary is in light blue because I do have a goal of having the financial secretary join the executive committee officially. That would require a change in the bylaws. So hopefully, Audrey, you can take note. That is something that I really think would benefit the association. The treasurer, both past and present, have worked really closely with the financial secretary, and it really has helped the organization. We also have a chaplain. We have the historian position is vacant. We have alumni trustees who are part of the Alumni Council. They are not part of the executive committee, but they are on the council, and there are 6 of them. We have committee chairs. I tried to fit them all on one line, a little unsuccessfully there, but we have membership, programs, finance. These committee chairs were selected to be on the executive committee to bring the day-to-day operations of the association into the executive committee, and they're kind of maybe some of the most fundamental committees to our work. That's how it was chosen, that it would be these particular committees that would officially be on the executive committee. And we did have a change in our bylaws to affect that. But we also have the Sunshine Committee chair. We have the Audit Committee chair. We have the Publicity and the Ways and Means Committee chairs. Those are both vacant. And we also have regional directors in the association. I think historically, we haven't really been sure what the regional directors were really charged to do or really were doing. And so what we've done in my administration is we've moved them to be part of the membership committee chair, because they really do have a membership focus in supporting our members and potential members out in our regions. And so they've been working closely with our membership chair. In addition to all of these officers and committee chairs who I've named, we also have our chapters. Every chapter has a president, and so I've listed our chapter presidents here. But in terms of the council membership, each chapter has the option of sending their president, or their president can send a chapter representative to the council, and that is the choice of the chapter. The other thing about this chart is that anyone with any position that you see with a dotted line, those are appointed positions. So the president has the authority to appoint many positions to help affect her or his administration. But the alumni membership has a voice in electing also. And so those with solid lines you'll see were elected positions. So that's pretty self-explanatory, including at the chapter level, the chapter presidents are elected by their local membership. We're still talking, oh, one more thing about the council. The council meets only 3 times a year. We meet in October near homecoming. Typically, we are meeting before the general body meeting. And the purpose of that council meeting, some of the purposes of that council meeting in October are laid out in the bylaws. Importantly, that particular council meeting is in preparation of the October general body meeting. The council also meets in February. That generally, it used to be around the time of the Board of Trustees meeting in February, but we've lately been also kind of scheduling it around the CIAA to try to spread out the events so that it makes it easier for on some of us who are attending so many things. And then finally, we meet in May, and that's near the alumni reunion and commencement weekend. And again, typically it's going to be before the general body meeting and helps us get ready for that general body meeting. So those of you who are on the council, that is your expectation, to be at that council meeting 3 times per year. So I talked about the chapters. We still have some work to do in terms of identifying really who we are in terms of, are we a single organization with multiple branches, as is depicted in this picture? Or, as depicted in this picture, are we a central national organization with affiliated organizations? And you see the only difference is really the dotted line between the national and the chapters. This is a screenshot from a video that I made a couple of years ago that laid out the slides. I explained the slides. Dr. Allen had brought in one of Lincoln's attorneys to just, I think, help the AALU, because we were struggling back then in terms of what our status is. I still kind of think we're struggling, but then it was really, we needed to get like basic information. And so her attorney did a presentation, but it was in person. So what I did a couple of years, like 2 years ago, is I presented those slides, and it is sitting on our YouTube. So I will share that after this meeting, because I think it will really help us, because this is actually still an open issue that I think we really, need to work out. I think for the most part, and you'll hear me say in the video, I think that the intent of when you look back at just the bylaws over time, and I think the intent was that we would be a single organization with multiple chapters or multiple branches, the attorney called it. But I think also each chapter is kind of separate in a way, but we are linked through, well, one thing, we're linked through the ability because the chapters have representation on the National Alumni Council, as I've discussed. We are seeking to be linked because we are seeking to get our 501c3 umbrella status granted, which is something that has been in the works for a couple of years and is on hold right now. So I just think we need a whole nother conversation on what this looks like. The other thing that the attorney mentioned is that we can always be a hybrid of these two things. So we could be a national association with some chapters that are kind of a little more independent. For example, New York is pretty independent of us in that they have their own separate incorporation status. They have their own separate 501c3 status. But you could have other chapters that might just be linked to us through the umbrella 501c3 status, but maybe they wouldn't have their own separate incorporation status. Some of this, by the way, is being driven through evolving laws and requirements in states. For example, presently we have a challenge with our Delaware chapter because Delaware has created some new requirements for organizations to open up bank accounts. And so being that they are a newer chapter, since they are reestablishing themselves, they're having some trouble getting their bank account open because they don't have a separate incorporation in Delaware. So I think that this is one of our challenges going forward that we need to work out. But we know we look something like this. Also, I will say is as we work it out, we probably need an MOU between the national and the each chapter. We already do have some requirements of each chapter and what they have to have in their constitution and bylaws. So there's that, but it would really be strengthened by an official MOU. And I do see a hand, which is Donita. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
I did have a quick question regarding this whole thing. Do you have a committee that is working through all of this? Because like you said, it sounds like, we need to make a decision as to how the organization looks and talk about what are the tax and charitable organization implications and or benefits. And we need some consistency across the organization. I mean, whether it's between the chapters and what we look like, and it should be the same.
Yeah, so right now, this is something that we don't have an active committee working on. And I could not possibly agree with you more that we do need we do need that. And but in terms of consistency, one thing that the Lincoln's lawyer said to me, and I can't remember who met with her and me back in the day. It may have been you, Rita. But she said that we really could be a hybrid. So it could be that we could have some more established chapters, have one model, but have the option for up and coming chapters where it might be just difficult for them to establish more independence, to have them sort of as chapters um, that are more closely connected with nationals. But yes, it's definitely something that's going to take some work, and it needs someone to be in charge of it. And it definitely needs to not live in my head, but it's a priority. So thank you for that question. I'm going to move on. So we are still talking about people and who we are. So in terms of who we are, I have these beautiful pictures here because we are actually a membership organization. So these are just some pictures that I had on some old slides that I just wanted to share with you all because we are our members. This is a picture of us welcoming new members at homecoming, running around campus, trying to sign folks up. So this is who we are. We are a membership organization. We have a new membership portal. It's not really new anymore, called Wild Apricot. We make it easy for folks to sign up. We now have membership that can be renewing automatically. Most people have liked that. So in terms of who we are as a membership organization, we have over 1,000 members. We meet twice a year. This is an example of a meeting announcement that went out a couple of years ago. We meet twice a year. In October, we meet after homecoming, and it's been virtual only. And then the second time we meet is May during alumni reunion weekend and commencement weekend, and that we do on campus hybrid. This is kind of the post-pandemic stance that we've been in. We used to always meet in person. We used to always meet at homecoming. We have learned that folks do not want to come to homecoming to hang out and sit in an AALU meeting for 4 hours. And so we have stopped those over the past several years. And my intention is to go forward in this up and coming administration that we have now to continue that. We've replaced our homecoming meeting with a meet and greet session during homecoming. So it's not on here because it's not a business meeting, but every homecoming we are partnering with the Alumni Relations Office for a alumni breakfast under a big alumni tent, which is actually fun. Our programs committee does something fun, and we hear from Dr. Allen and Chairman Bruce. That's October, and then we take our business to Zoom. And that has been on the last Saturday of each October. So, done with people. And we're on to power, people, power, and participation. So these last slides won't be as long. In terms of power, so power, that really just means the money. So I went back to our mission, which I've already shared, and I'm just resurfacing the portion of the mission that pertains to finances. To encourage financial support for Lincoln University. As a result of that strategic planning session, we did have some fundraising goals. I'm not quite sure if what our activities have been totally aligned with these, but I just put them out here for you. This is what we came up with. I can give you a highlight of what we've been doing over the past couple of years since I've been president. We have cleaned up our AALU finances. Thank you very much, Rita and Tawana, for your leadership there. We have initiated, in FY21, we initiated a partial recovery of some misappropriated funds that we had from previous administrations. We also donated through our golf tournament over $20,000 to Lincoln University. In FY 2022, we continued the cleanup of AALU finances. We had our first external audit. We do know the audit needs to be strengthened a bit, but we did have it, so it was a milestone. We instituted some strong budgeting. We finalized a legal settlement for the partial recovery of the misappropriation that I've already discussed. Also in that year, we donated over $60,000 to Lincoln. Unfortunately, I was rushing preparing these slides, so I didn't have an opportunity to really get good numbers. But I do know that it was over $60,000, probably much more than that. And that was as a combination of what we did at the golf tournament and also at the from the CIAA day party. If I do this presentation again, I will work that out and get a better presentation on numbers. Also, this past fiscal year, we initiated our transfer to QuickBooks. We partially implemented financial SOPs. We continued to work on the strong budgeting, and we donated, we expect to donate over $35,000 to Lincoln, and that is from the golf tournament. We didn't have a day party, and we didn't have any other fundraising initiatives. In terms of what our management challenges, I like to call them management challenges pertaining to money in the future, this year and next year, I would say the number one thing is to finish that QuickBooks transition. It's something that our new treasurer has let me know is a priority for him. It's something that I know that our new audit chair who mostly is over the internal auditing, I know she would really appreciate if we had, if we were fully onto QuickBooks. It will strengthen us in terms of our ability to get a strong external audit because it'll help us deliver better information to our external auditor. So just all around, that's like the number one priority. Also, we have some priorities about cleaning up our timeliness in terms of getting our reports done on time, being able to report better on projects, especially projects that cross fiscal years, and being able to submit our 990s on time. We also need to clean up those chapter issues that we spoke about just now, that Donita and I were just speaking about. We need to hopefully unstick the umbrella issue. Some of that is outside of our control because the IRS is on hold in granting umbrella 501c3s right now, but it doesn't, and it shouldn't really hold us back on cleaning up our relationship to the chapters, as well as our relationship to Lincoln, and getting some MOUs in place. We also need to need better implementation of our financial SOPs and our internal controls. And oh my gosh, we don't have a fundraising chair. Our Ways and Means Committee chair, that's vacant. So the last P is participation. So these were the, I'm just re-highlighting our mission. Again, this is the portion of our mission that pertains to, I think, participation. And when you look back at our mission, that part is about us fostering a close relationship amongst the graduates and alums, promoting the best interest of Lincoln, and really just being the organization that is the voice, that is the accredited medium for the expression of the sentiments of Lincoln alum. When you look at what the goals are around participation or membership, it's strengthening the LU alumni community by strengthening the AALU. And then again, just nourishing and cultivating that close relationship amongst the alums. I put this here, this was my campaign flyer because this was a goal. As you see, I previously was using Enlarge, Envision, and Enlist, and it has somehow transferred over to now People, Power, and Participation. But I put this here because, you know, my goal was that we would be able to secure the participation or membership of 25% of Lincoln, living Lincoln alums by 2023. So that is still a goal. We're pretty far away from that. There are, actually, I don't even know how many living alums we have, but let's just, to pick a number, we can say we're in the 10 to 15,000 range. And we are just very, very far from that because as I noted, our membership numbers are closer to about 1,000. So we have, in terms of the highlights of what we've been doing, we have had significant growth because I have decided I wanted to pull this session together. I didn't get the actual numbers to share. I will definitely do that by the time we have our first council meeting. But I do know we have had significant growth. It's just not 25% of living alums. I know that our membership chair, Dr. Eric B. Coates, has been working really hard. He developed committee SOPs really early on. Like I said, we've organized a committee. The regional directors are part of the committee. They've initiated partnerships with our young alums. He worked really hard with the treasurer to clean up life memberships that were out there and just needed to clean up. And people were very upset because people had paid life memberships and it got caught up in that whole misappropriation thing that I talked about. So it's just been a lot of work to clean up a lot of stuff with the AALU. And they've done a fabulous job. And I think maybe my initial goals were probably a little too ambitious, but we got a couple more years. So we can keep going. We've also done some great programs for our members. We had this prayer service that really, we're planning it again for this year. People have really enjoyed it. This will be our third one. And another thing that we've done that people have really loved is supporting the new Lion Cubs on Move-In Day. Challenges that I see for participation coming up. Well, the pace of the membership growth, if we are going to even come close to hitting that goal, we got to step it up. Volunteerism is a challenge. We need volunteers. Also, volunteers that are able to prioritize the AALU, just like any nonprofit. It's a challenge. I know for me, it's a challenge personally. I've had a problem with prioritization because I've had, just personally, my son was graduating from high school last year. I had a lot going on. I became a senior executive at my job, and it was so much work. So prioritization is really a challenge for us. Succession planning. I am in my final term as AALU president. Who's next? And this isn't a challenge with our chapters as well. Right now, we have one chapter that doesn't have a chapter president. You can't be a chapter without a chapter president. I'm just saying you can't be a chapter without a chapter president or a treasurer. So succession planning. Um, we need to have an MOU with LU and with the chapters. I've already discussed that. We need national level policies and procedures. When I was the president of the DC chapter, we created some for our chapter, but we don't have any nationally. We also have, I would call a management challenge, I would call the partnering with LU. I think some of this would be addressed if we had a strong MOU between us and the university, but we've had some examples of how the lack of an MOU has played out. We've had a mentoring program that's kind of been floundering. There were some challenges in getting the golf tournament going, especially the first year during Dawn Fant's administration. And so sometimes it's just in terms of the expectations that we have of Lincoln and Lincoln has of us, it will be much smoother. We would be better partners for each other if we had a strong MOU. There's been challenges around us being able to support their efforts with admissions. I listened to the board meeting yesterday and they were discussing that about how they needed the alums to go to places where they can't reach. But at the same time, it's been a challenge to get the information and the support and the materials from the university in order for us to be able to do that for them. Also, all of us as chapters have had these new student welcomes. It's been a real challenge to get that information from Lincoln about the new students. Sometimes it's because of FERPA. And then sometimes it's just because it may not be effective because of the numbers of students coming from a particular area. Other management challenges I see on the horizon pertaining to participation, the fact that we have no publicity chair. And then I have some priorities that I think are important. And one is I would like to have affinity groups, something that aren't chapters, but just groups of alums that are able to coalesce around the things that they care about. It may be STEM alums, for example. I'm a STEM alum. I was a laser student. I majored in physics. I work for the National Science Foundation. There's a lot of alums that are interested in science. Why not let them affiliate around that? Perhaps they can't be a chapter, but they can still participate, and we can recognize that participation in some way, and maybe we could get more participation by supporting alums just affiliating around things they care about. It could be gospel choir alums or SGA alums. I mean, who knows? Some other national alumni associations have models like that. And then I would like for us to better align our alumni trustee nominations process with the university. And then the last thing I will mention is that we have an unfinished strategic plan. I will share these slides, but we had some communications and outreach goals, and we had some programs goals. We don't necessarily have activities, aren't planning activities or initiatives that align with what we said were our strategic goals here. And then I just wanted to share a couple of photographs that I just had these photos, and I mean, I had these slides, and these are just things we've done in the past, just about who we are. Don't forget about California. These are some photos from Philadelphia and DC. Oh, I wanted to mention we have a website, aalupa.org. And we need support, people, power, and participation. And so with that, I will stop sharing. And that, my friends, is the AALU overview. So I know it was long. As I mentioned already, I was really trying to pull something together. A couple of the new council members had noted that they really wanted and needed an overview. And also, I'm always sort of competing against myself in terms of my own notion of what I think is a best practice. And it's a best practice to do this. I just didn't know when or how. So I didn't get a chance to time this out. So I'm sorry, my presentation took like 45 minutes, but I do hope that it was beneficial. You guys could kind of get to think about who we are in terms of people, in terms of power, money, because we are nothing without a strong finances and strong budgeting. How do you have goals if you don't have a budget that matches those goals to make them real? And just in terms of participation. So I will stop, and if anyone has any questions.
Madam President,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Ben Butcher. Good presentation. Very much appreciated. I have a question about the financial secretary. I think it's a good idea to add the bylaws. Have you had in mind, or do you have in mind whether it's going to be 2-year term or longer for purposes of continuity?
Great question. This is something that I'm springing on Audrey in this meeting because I don't think that I have let her know that that's been in my brain. So no,
actually, I think it was, you said something probably a year and a half ago, afternoon.
Oh,
something
okay.
about that. You're like, we thinking it was but we were doing bigger things then. And
Okay.
So slow down a little
Okay.
bit. I have it in my notes.
Okay.
And if you think about your term, I can add that into the notes as well for our next meeting.
Okay. I mean, I do have a lot of thoughts around terms, not just for the financial secretary. I think that the way things have played out with the previous president only serving 1 term and then Rita serving out the 2 terms, we have ended up staggering. And I think that that's actually a pretty good model. It doesn't normally, historically, it hasn't worked like that. We've just had the full administration, kind of like we do in the national, our nation. We have, a whole new administration come in. And I just think that that is ripe for disaster, actually. I think we would be much better served if we maybe staggered the president and the treasurer in some kind of way, and or the financial secretary. I don't know how we kind of force that, because you can't force someone to do 2 terms. So I don't know how that would work. But
I actually just made a note that said 2 years for the financial secretary. She should be a year longer than the treasurer. So if the treasurer's term is 2, then the financial secretary should do 3, because the next person coming in can learn some things from
yeah.
And then they go out. So I just wrote that note in with a question mark.
Okay. And then Dawn Fant and we had been speaking about ideas such as having some kind of role for the outgoing president, or some kind of council of past presidents, just to support continuity. I know it's something she wanted to do, but we really didn't get it off of the ground. I know I'm willing to do that because I just really want us to continue to move forward, but I have no interest in staying in this role forever. I just want to be able to pass it on without us, without, first of all, get someone and some group of folks that are willing to take it on, and just for it to not be too much, for people to feel like it's something that they can take on.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi, Madam President Charisse. I just want to say thank you for your charge, your effort. You've done an amazing job, you and your team, with moving us along. And I saw the list of challenges, which is enormous. I mean, each one could have its own separate committee and meeting all by itself. But I'm just wondering, and I know it's probably a monumental question, but is there a task that you would like for us, those of us who are here on the meeting, to take back to our committees? I'm with Central Jersey. I'm not sure. Is there a task that you want us to take back, or that I can share information that we can start talking about to try and come up with something? I know some of our conversations on our end has been, yes, getting more alumni and being more present, I think, and inviting during homecoming to maybe capture those folks that we would normally see on a regular basis. But, and this could go out to everybody, I guess. Is there a charge or something that we should start to focus on right now and think about?
So that's a great question.
I'm sorry,
You
I'm
know,
not on camera. It's one of those Sunday mornings.
that's okay. That's okay. No, that's a great question. I didn't have a charge for this meeting. The purpose of this meeting was really to share information and to get us all on the same page so that we are, so those members who have been working and then those who are kind of new to this, we would just all be on the same page. And I think there's value in that. I think there's value in that for both, continuing members and new members. So that really was the only goal or purpose here. Now, emerging from this, certainly, yes, I can think of several charges and priorities. I really do. I mean, participation, of course, has got to be number one, because if you don't have participation, I mean, how can you have an organization that is really the accredited voice for alumni, but we represent a small fraction of the living alumni, actually. I mean, I try to represent alumni in the way I think they would want to be represented, but I can't ignore the fact that we have over 1,000 members, but we don't have over 1,500 members. We don't have over 2,000 members. And there's, over 10,000 living alumni. So are we really representing all alumni? So getting more, I mean, it's about, my mother is, my mother's in Jersey, Sheila, as I think you know, and she's always calling me like, I met so-and-so in my book club and they're Lincoln alum. How come they're not in your chapter? I met so-and-so at church. And I mean, she's always telling me about alums that she's finding and telling me what I already know, that we got to find ways to find and engage existing alumni. So I do think that is number one. I do know, like I showed that picture of Rita walking up to alums on campus, and we did have this one year where we literally walked around campus and we had the membership app like on our phone. And we just were signing folks up like right there. We've like, I'll take your money by Cash App, and then sign people up, and then like we take the money and then we sign people up and then we get their email. I mean, we've kind of done those kinds of things in the past. I think that's certainly a great thing to do. So since homecoming is coming up, just getting the word out about the meet and greet for homecoming. We are having the university is having a Friday night party under the tent, which is always really fun. This will
Yeah.
be the second year, I think. It was so much fun last year. And then the morning, though, instead of doing AALU meeting, which everyone hated doing that, especially back when things were kind of contentious and crazy, then you're not only taking up people's time on campus, but you're taking up their time on campus with drama.
Mhm.
Nobody wanted that. So we have replaced it with a breakfast and fun events by our program committee, but it wasn't that well attended. So can we get the word out to get people? We have free breakfast, free food in place of the long, boring, contentious meeting that everyone hated. So get the word out about that. Show up, come. We have our membership folks at the breakfast, the meet and greet breakfast. We will have Eric there, Christopher. I don't know if you know, but we've had the treasurer there in the past. So hopefully you or someone from the finance team will be there to get new members. So getting the word out about that. I was going to propose to the executive committee that we have a tailgate maybe at homecoming. So it's something we haven't done before, had like an AALU tailgate. Usually I go down and I'm either with a class or sorority or something, but why not have an AALU tailgate? That might be fun. So those are the kinds of sort of things that I think coming up that could be priorities. In terms of something that's more business, though, I do think like I said earlier, affording us the space and time to just finish the cleanup with our finances. That has got to be number one business priority. Getting QuickBooks up and running. I think it's great that we have some continuity on our finance team. Rita was the treasurer. Um, and she's still on the executive committee as the finance chair, but we have a whole new treasurer now. So it just gives us an opportunity for a fresh look. We have a whole new audit chair who's going to ask us questions that are hard,
Mm.
which we expect. But we were such a mess that we couldn't really answer them before. But I think we are far enough away from that, thanks to the work that started with the administration of Dawn Fant and Rita and continued on, and what I was able to bring, that we can start kind of maturing from a business standpoint to new levels.
Thank you. That sounds really good. And definitely the business aspect is something that, is going to make the whole organization work. We have to have that. Just speaking back to some of the ideas that you suggested, you said, we sign up people right on campus or the tailgate. Those were some of the things that we have actually talked about in our chapter in the past, is like maybe having, the table with a banner and stuff and trying to get folks to sign up right there on the spot. I mean, they may not continue to be active, but if we can at least start off with getting their money, and then we can, get their email and their information, and then send out reminders, about activities and events and needs for them to be more active. But I, like I said, I don't think we've ever talked too much about like what we can and cannot do, or at least I don't know in that respect, what we can and cannot do on Lincoln's campus as far as like setups and stuff like that.
Well, they do like us to work through, again, back to the we need an MOU. But pretty much Lincoln recognizes nationals as the AALU, and Lincoln works with the AALU through the nationals, but also Lincoln works with chapters also. So, we commit to trying to work through the Office of Alumni Relations. So if you ever have questions about that, it's always good to go through Deborah Johnson. Um, we our next executive committee meeting is next Monday. So I am definitely going to propose to the executive committee that we do a tailgate. And we can certainly get that information. I hope that they say, yes, it's not something we had budgeted for or done in the past, but I know we have the money for it. We just didn't have it as an idea in our budget when we passed the budget. But I'm sure that it'll be something that we can agree to do, and we can kind of go from there. We'll make sure that we'll get a big enough space so that all chapters can be included. And so I'm hoping that'll be a great start.
Okay, yeah, definitely let me know. But that was Hawaii, and I plan on being there Friday so we can attend the president's reception.
Oh, that's good because we're gonna need her to dance. Mhm.
So we would be willing to represent at a table for the entire organization or Central Jersey or whatever the case may be on Saturday
Okay,
if needed.
okay. Are there any other questions? I'm gonna stop the recording just in to honor everyone's time. And I did say that this was going to be an hour, and I think we've covered everything. I can stay a couple of minutes. I actually can stay as long as anyone needs me to stay, but I wanted to sort of officially end. It's 2:59. So thank you everyone for your time. And for those of you who are viewing this after the fact, I really do um, hope that you found it informative, and please do reach out to me at president@aalupa.org, or you can reach our treasurer at treasurer@aalupa.org, and you can reach our vice president at vicepresident@aalupa.org. Thank you.